I promise you, if you were to memorize that entire book, you would most likely get a perfect score on your board exams. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. It's been a while since I've been making content pretty regularly, so I'm trying to get back into the habit of making more videos for you guys. If you guys didn't see my most recent video, essentially I'm out here living in Michigan, just started my emergency medicine residency about 3 months ago. Everything has been going extremely well. I'm loving the ER. I'm loving what I'm doing. So if you guys have any questions about emergency medicine or about residency, drop them in the comments, shoot me an email. I will get back to you guys. But if this is the first time we're meeting, my name is Michael, aka Dr. Mazer. I'm a first year ER resident. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about kind of the hardest year of medical school. And the reason I wanted to make a video about this is because I was talking to my buddy who's in medical school right now, and he's currently a second year medical student. And I was reminiscing on medical school and all of the different years. And granted, medical school is difficult, but I would say each year you'll realize that there's different things that make it difficult, if that makes any sense. But after talking with him and after kind of reminiscing of my experience in medical school, I think it's safe to say that your second year of medical school might actually be the most difficult, and I'm going to talk about why in this video. But before we get into that, I want to quickly thank Kenhub for sponsoring today's video, but more on them a little bit later on. So like I said, every year of medical school comes with different challenges and difficulties. Every year, you get a little bit more responsibility, a little bit more knowledge, and you're required to know just a little bit more in general. And if you're not super familiar with, all of the different years of medical school, the first 2 years, you're in the classroom, you're studying, you're reading, you're taking a lot of exams, you're really just building up your general knowledge of medicine. And then comes the second half of medical school, which is your third and fourth year, which is completely in a clinical setting, whether that's in a hospital or a clinic. But overall, you're seeing patients, and that's really when the real learning of medicine begins. It's also important to know that your third and fourth year medical school is really when you start applying the knowledge that you learned during your first and second years. And so as you guys can only imagine, that will come with its own stressors, seeing patients, talking with them, being able to listen to them and extract information from your patients that'll help you, come up with a differential diagnosis. And you may be asking yourself, well, that seems, pretty difficult. So why are you saying your second year of medical school is the most difficult? And I think everyone's going to have, a different opinion. Not all of you guys are going to think your second year of medical school is the most difficult. But I think if you, take a step back and look at medical school, in a comprehensive way, there's a lot of stress that you're going to experience as a second year medical student, making it what I think is the most difficult year. Going through medical school, I always heard that your second year of medical school was actually easier than your first year until I became a second year medical student. And I was like, that is complete BS. Second year medical school was so hard for me. And it's because you start to really dive into complex medical conditions, treatments. It's no longer the basic sciences and basic anatomy and all of the basic foundations of medicine. It's generally when you start to dive into disease processes and how to manage and treat those. Now, on top of, doing all of that and learning all of those different things, you're also tasked with, teaching and mentoring first year medical students. You're going to different labs, you're going to different clubs that'll help you kind of learn what specialty most interests you. You'll start to be integrated into leadership positions within your medical school. Now, on top of all of that, you're also going to have to start worrying about your third year medical school rotations and how to start preparing for those. And then I think the biggest thing and the most stressful thing is you're going to have to start learning how to prepare for your first set of board exams. So as you guys can see, there is so much more that happens your second year that you just don't really experience your first year or even your third or fourth year of medical school. Like I said, every single year of medical school comes with its different challenges and stressors, but I just think your second year, you're still so new in the process of all of these different things that the stress actually just feels a lot worse than when you get into your third and fourth year. By the time you become a third and fourth year medical student, you're used to being stressed out all the time, and you're much better at managing that stress and being more organized. Now, I will say there is a great resource out there that I highly recommend, which is actually the sponsor of today's video, Kenhub. Kenhub, guys, is an amazing all-inclusive anatomy resource. So if you haven't heard about it yet, this is definitely something you're gonna wanna look into because it's gonna help you guys really ace your anatomy exams during medical school. It's gonna also help you guys prepare for the anatomy sections of your board exams. Now, Kenhub actually just rolled out with their new physical atlas that you guys can take around to your different medical school classes, to your clinical rotations. It's gonna help you guys stay up to date on your anatomy. And if you guys are thinking of going into even a surgical subspecialty, they will pimp you guys and ask you so many questions about anatomy. So it's gonna be vital that you guys stay up to date on anatomy. And that's where Kenhub is really gonna shine for you guys. Now, Kenhub has two options. They have a basic and a premium option. But either way, if you guys use my discount code, which is down below in the description, you guys will save 10%. Now, the great thing about Kenhub is they have hundreds of hours of video lectures to help you guys really solidify your anatomy knowledge. You're not gonna be going through this all alone. You're gonna have certified professors teaching you the complex topics of anatomy. So once you guys go through some of those lectures, you read a little bit through their anatomy atlas, then you guys will be ready to do the hundreds and hundreds of practice questions that Kenhub is famous for. And these are really gonna be key for you guys to be successful on your anatomy exams. Now, the one thing that I really think is awesome about the Kenhub Atlas is it has QR codes throughout the book, where if you scan the QR code, it's gonna take you to their online portal where you guys can study that topic and do practice questions on that specific topic. There are so many other additional features that I think are awesome about Kenhub, but this video is too short to go over them all. So stay tuned for my full comprehensive video where I will also be giving out 6 discount codes where you guys are gonna be able to access Kenhub completely for free. Now, guys, this is only one resource that I think is gonna really benefit you guys, especially as a first and second year medical student. And it's really gonna make your lives a whole lot easier. So definitely check out Kenhub and drop a comment down below if you guys have any additional questions. So like I was mentioning, one of the most difficult parts about being a second year med student is preparing for your board exams, whether that's step 1 or complex level 1. That is a big stressor that is gonna be looming over you guys your entire second year. There's a lot of resources out there that will help you know how to best study for those board exams or when to start studying for those board exams. I have personally made videos on that topic, so definitely go look on my channel for those videos. But this is the first time you guys are taking a very serious medical licensing exam. And it's the first of 3 board exams that you guys are gonna have to take. There's step 1, 2, and 3. And you'll be taking those, all the way into your first year of residency. And I'm currently in the position where I'm trying to figure out when to start studying for my complex level 3 exam. So I'm not even out of the woods yet. I'm still, dealing with that stress on top of taking care of patients in the emergency department, on top of continuing to learn, medicine. So the stress never stops and it never, decreases or gets easier. You kind of just learn to manage it better. Luckily, as a second year medical student, your board exams are now pass fail, which is a great stress reliever. The board exams are not super difficult. And if I was to give you guys any one piece of advice, it would be to learn the step 1 book, the first aid book, as well as possible, because the more you know from that book, the better your score is gonna be. I promise you, if you were to memorize that entire book, you would most likely get a perfect score on your board exams. So honestly, that would be my biggest recommendation and my biggest key to success on doing well on your first set of boards. Now, however you go about learning that book, that is completely up to you guys. There are practice questions, there are flashcards, there's simply reading the book, highlighting, memorizing it. But I always tell my mentees and my friends that the more you know that step 1 book, the better you're gonna do. So if that means using the book to also study for your med school exams, then, do that. The other stressful thing about second year, like I mentioned, was, starting to set up your third year rotations. And for most of you, your schools will take care of that. And for some of you, like myself, I chose to set up my own. I don't recommend that, especially if you don't have the proper connections. But if it is an option, I'd be more than happy to talk with anybody, about setting up your own medical school rotations. But that does add a component of stress because for a lot of you, you're going to have to move away from wherever your med school is at to, wherever your third year clinical rotations are at, because usually they're not in the same city. And for a lot of you, this might be the first time that you have to leave your hometown and kind of go and be on your own. And so besides all of those kind of external stressors, those additional stressors that come with being a second year med student, the content itself, during your second year medical school is pretty difficult. At least in my opinion, it was difficult for me. It's a lot of complex medical topics that are primarily just tested on your board exams, and you're really going to have little to no experience with them in the real world as a practicing physician. But for some reason, our board exams dictate what is taught in our medical schools, which I think is a very poor way of going about medical education. But that's a whole nother topic. So it makes medical school learning not the greatest and not the most interesting because you're not really focusing on the common things that you're going to be seeing on a day-to-day basis in the hospital or in the clinic. And kind of on a side note, I always recommend to medical students to focus on the treatments of these medical conditions because I feel like medical schools kind of do a poor job of teaching the actual treatments because you're not really tested on treatments on your first set of board exams. So that's really why they don't go into that as much. But once you become a third-year medical student, you're in some way expected to know some basic treatments, of some easy bread and butter, medical diagnoses. For example, how do you treat a basic UTI? What are the most common antibiotics used for UTIs? What are alternatives if people have allergies to those antibiotics? So these are kind of things that kind of go untaught in medical school in some sense. So I would encourage you guys to learn these things on your own when you're going through different pathologies in your medical school classes. It's going to make you guys feel more prepared once you become a third year medical student. So honestly, guys, to end this whole video, because I could talk about medical school for hours and hours, and to be honest, you guys have made it this far. You guys are all gonna become doctors. So don't let the little things stress you guys out. You guys are all fully capable of doing well in your classes, of doing well on your board exams. And as second year medical students, nobody really expects you guys to be able to take care of a patient. Even as a first year ER resident, my attending physicians barely expect me to take care of my own patients, which it's funny because it seems like you hear that every single year, but it's like at some point you need to be able to take care of your own patients, which I feel like I am fully capable of taking care of probably 85 to 90% of the patients that I see. But I think it's funny that I've heard that every single year of training that people just don't expect you to take care of patients, even though that's what we are being trained to do. So hopefully that gives you guys a little bit more comfort that nobody's going to expect you guys to really know anything as a second year med student. Just focus on doing the best you can. Enjoy life. Don't focus on getting, the top grades in your med school class. I would highly recommend, do your very best. Make time for friends and family, make time for yourself, watch a movie, take a break. You don't need to study all day. And in fact, as you guys have all heard, spaced repetition is the best way to study. So if you're not taking breaks, you're not giving yourself time to forget the stuff you're studying, and that spaced repetition is not actually kicking in. So you do need to take breaks in order for spaced repetition to actually have an effect on your brain. But yeah, guys, those are my tips. I think you guys are all doing a wonderful job. If you guys have any questions, if you guys are feeling stressed or just need advice, my email is down below. Feel free to shoot me an email. We can talk through things. Drop a comment in the description below. Guys, check out Kenhub because I think it is a really good resource for you. And I hope to see you guys in my next video.